Hello everybody, welcome back to this Words in the World tutorial series on PsychoPy3. In the last video, we created a lexical decision task. We created several different components, we added a loop, and we uploaded our conditions file, and we looked at some beautiful response time data. In this video, we are going to put that experiment online. So we're going to load this experiment up onto the we're going to upload it onto the Pavlovia server that hosts all of these experiments. And we're going to try running the experiment again online and collect some of that data and see what it looks like and make sure that it looks a lot like the data that we collected from the from the PC version of the experiment. So let's get back into it. Here we go. PsychoPy3 again. One thing that I did in between videos was I added these two extra fields. If you remember, I mentioned that I was going to show you how to customize the window that shows up at the beginning of the experiment, asking for different participant information. So initially we had just participant and session, and I've added age and native language in there, and that's going to provide a field where participants can add their information, and it's going to come up in the data file. All right, so that's done. I just wanted to add quickly an instructions page so that I remember which button I should be pressing for word and non-word. So I'm going to create a new routine, and I'm going to call it instructions. And I'm going to put that before the loop, which is very important. I need the instructions before I start, not after. All right, if I click on this, I can see it's currently empty, and I'm going to add a text stimuli. Now, I'm going to name this instruction text. I can't call it instructions because there's already an object with the name instructions in my experiment, so I can't have duplicates. Python is not going to like that. All right, I want this to start from the beginning. I want to give my participants more than 1 second to read the instructions. All of these settings are just fine. It can appear in the middle of the screen. That's all good. I'm just going to put some little stars and maybe all caps. Make sure I get everybody's attention. I'm going to say press A for word, press L for non-word. The only reason these things are changing color is because it's detecting Python script. But as long as I'm not including any code in here, it's going to automatically just assume that this is a string of text. So you don't have to worry about that too much. And I want this to be constant. Everything else looks just fine. Press A for word, press L for non-word. Cool. You probably want to think a little bit more about your participants' experience when you're developing these instructions, but this will serve our purposes. All right. Add that in there. Oh, I forgot one thing. I want to be able to continue to the next page. So I'm going to instruct my participants to press space to continue. I'll click OK for that. And I want to make sure that I add in a component that will detect that they've actually pressed a button. So I will call this instruction key. That's probably not the best name. I want this to start from the very beginning. I want it to continue forever until it detects a button press or key press. And the only thing that I want it to detect is space. That's the only thing I care about. And once they press space, I want to end this routine. So I want them to be taken away from the instructions page and put into the first loop of the experiment. And actually for this, I don't want to record that. I don't want that to come up in my data file. It's just going to be a column that I'm going to have to delete later on. So I'm not going to record any data there. Similarly, I don't really need to do any of these things. Not that it would matter if they were clicked or not, but let's just turn them off. That looks great. Okay. So now we've got our instructions page and leading into our loop. So now I want to put this online. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go up here, and if you haven't created a profile on Pavlova, you're going to be prompted to do that here. I'm actually already logged in. So if I, for example, if I logged out, I can click here again. It's going to bring me to this page here. So this will give you the option to register. It's pretty easy to register. You're just putting in your username, your email, and choosing a password. It's pretty straightforward. I'm sure you don't need help doing that. So here we go. I can click. I can indicate my username, which is just my full name. I have no secrets here, and I'm going to sign in that way. Now this is important because basically PsychoPy needs to know where to store the information for this experiment on the repository. It's not just going up into the repository, it's going to be associated with my profile. And that's important because, well, let's say that someone was really interested in using this experiment themselves. They could fork it. Basically, they could take it from my profile, but I would know that they did that, and so that I could, I would get credit. They would know that I made this experiment and that they're borrowing it from me. Similarly, if someone's logging on to this website to participate in an experiment, maybe I have a bunch of different experiments running at the same time, and they could just go to my tab and then select one of those experiments to do. So it's just important to do that, and yeah, and they need to know where to put the file. So now here's where the beauty of PsychoPy comes in. So if I go to File, I can export an HTML. So now if I go to that same folder that I was using, I don't need this folder. So if I go back to my folder, so last time we had started out with a conditions file, we created this. After we ran the experiment, we got that in the data, and now I have an HTML file. So if I open up this HTML file, I have, sorry, I need to change this. For some reason, it doesn't want Chrome to be there we go. That's much better. All is right with the universe. All right, so in my resources file, there's the conditions file. And here we have the code for the experiment. This is going to be the index. If I open this up, you can see this is actually the JavaScript code for running the experiment. And the index, well, we won't get into that right now. So I've got my HTML file, and this is everything that I'm going to need to run the experiment online. So what I want to do now is I'm going to sync with web project. This is going to upload that HTML file onto the Pavlova repository. I click this. Now, so I don't have a current project that this file is associated with, so it wants me to create a new one. I'm going to call it demo LDT. I want to have the owner be me. An LDT for, I'm just going to call it a demo LDT for wow. Great. And I want to make this public. I mean, there's no reason I'm keeping it to myself. It's not, really groundbreaking stuff. All right. So that looks all good. And I'm going to create the project. And before it starts synchronizing, it wants me to provide some information here. This is actually really important, but for a weird reason. So what this does is on the repository online, it's going to save everything that I uploaded under this. It's going to save everything I uploaded. It's going to have this tag first commit. Now, let's say that I then added a bunch of things to my experiment. Or maybe I'm working with some other people and they wanted to take this lexical decision task and add a bunch of additional functionality. Maybe they want to add practice trials. They want to add a questionnaire at the end. Maybe we're adding a lot of different things to this experiment. What they would do is that if they made a change to the experiment and committed them to, like, if they uploaded those changes to the repository, I could then track at what point different changes were made. I'll show you this a little bit more in the next video. for now at least, the most important thing to remember is to always include something in this box. I was actually messaging with the PsychoPy developers to have something appear as a default in this box. If you, for some reason, try and sync your project with Pavlovia, and you don't include something in this box, it really messes with your ability to then to update your project later on. Sometimes you get completely cut off from being able to update your project. So this for now, this is a very important thing to not forget. Make sure that you're always typing something in this box. After your first commit, by default, it will come up as blank. So you always want to add something in here. It's also very useful for your own benefit. If you want to make little changes, just keep notes about what you changed, what you updated. And then if you ever wanted to go back and look at the project, maybe you're having like a similar problem with a future project, but you don't really remember exactly what you did. By tracking these commits, you can then go back and see exactly what you did. What did you change to make everything work earlier on? So this is actually really, really key and very useful tool. So I'm going to click OK. And after I do that, there we go. This little window will come up. And it's just saying it's pushing the files to Pavlovia. They use the terminology of pushing and pulling. So pushing means just uploading to, and then pulling is downloading from. It's pushing Pavlovia for the first time, so it's creating a new project. It's created these. This is again jargon from GitLab, different branches. It's not really very important for our purposes. And looks like this is where everything has been uploaded to. Great, success. So I'm going to close that. If I go to this folder, there's going to be an additional little file here. I need to remember how to look at this. I'll try and get to this in the next video because I forget exactly how to do it right now. By default, these full files aren't visible on your computer. There's a way to set it so that you can see them. The only reason to do that is because if for some reason you wanted to delete this project or if you wanted to move it to a different file, you need to make sure that this actually goes with it. This is like the little file that allows the contents of this folder to communicate with the repository online. So if you, yeah, I'll try and cover this a little bit later on, but basically it's better to be able to see it. That's like kind of the long and short of it. Okay, so now my project should be uploaded onto Pavlovia. So actually what I'll go directly from here. So one way that you can go is by navigating to the Pavlovia website, but since we're in here, I'll just go this way. So I'm going to click Run the Study Online. Did I make changes? I didn't think I made any changes there. I'm just going to call this second commit because I didn't think I changed anything. Basically, we'll only ask you for this window will only pop up when something has changed. I'm not sure what changed, but better safe than sorry. I'll just put second commit. All right, so it's going to take a little bit of time. Looks like it's pushing everything to the website. It's successfully synced, and that's going to bring me to the website where this experiment is hosted. Hopefully. Why is it using this? This is what I get for downloading free antivirus software. All right, so it should be loading my experiment up. So up here we can see this is now the URL that I can use to well, say I wanted to recruit participants for this experiment. The only thing I would have to provide them with is this URL, and it would direct them directly to this page where the experiment would load. All right, there we go. Finally, everything is going smoothly. So now I have my additional field that I added before. So I can call my name. I can put my age. And I'm going to put my native language. There we go. Click OK. All right, so now we have our first issue. So the height or the size of all my words is too big. So that's something that I'm going to want to go back and adjust. But for now, I can at least see it. So I'm going to press space to continue and begin my experiment. Not a word. Word. Immobility. Not a word. Word. There we go. Eyeball. Okay. Not a word. Word. Okay. Now it's saving all of my data. One useful feature of this is that if someone exits halfway through, it will collect all the data up till that point. So my experiment is all done, and now this page is not doing anything else because I haven't told it to do anything else. So I can kind of, actually what I can do, maybe I'll just jump over to Pavlovia. Okay, cool. All right, so now I have run my experiment online. So if I go back over here to my data file, oh, well, there's no data here right now. So where is my data, the data from my online experiment? Well, let's go have a look. Let's sign in to Pavlovia. It's using the same one as before. Here we go. Remember me. Yeah, sure. Hey, it's me and my dog. All right, so let's go over to the dashboard. And here I should have all of my experiments that I'm currently running. Oh, I'm already in my dashboard. I'll click on my experiments tab here. Here's all the experiments I've made. Wow, great. And if I look here, I have my demo lexical decision task that I created today. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Now I have a couple of options. I can deactivate it if I don't want people to be able to access it anymore. I can launch it, I can view the code, and I can download results. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly go over to GitLab and view the experiment. So I'm actually logged in to GitLab right now. So I'll probably go over this in more detail in another video. But what I have here is a list of all of the files that are associated with this project. So it's basically a mirror of everything that was in this folder, right? This is what this Git file is doing. It's basically communicating between this folder and making sure that they have the same things in them. If I click on HTML, oh sorry, not HTML, I want to go to data. Now if I look here, I have an additional file in here that is not in my other data file. In my local, this is a different data file. Here we go. So there's a slight difference between these two, right? Here I have this data file that was just created, basically the one that I did online, and this is the one that I did earlier on my computer. So how do I get this file to appear in my data file? Well, I have two options. One option is to click download results here. The other option is to click on this sync button here. So I'm going to do that because this is probably what you'll do more often. I actually don't know. It's debatable. All right, so here, basically what I can see is that what GitLab, or what it's doing basically is just looking at this, looking at the folder that's on my desktop and looking at the folder that's on the repository and going, oh, are they the same or are they different? And they're saying, oh, well, they're different. Actually, this one has one additional file, so we're going to make sure that they match, so we're going to add that file to the other folder. Which is great, because it's going to give me access to that data. And there we go. There's this additional data file. So let's open that up and have a look. All right. Well, this is interesting. So clearly, the online version of this experiment has a lot of trouble dealing with Japanese characters. That might be something that will be updated in the future. All right, so this looks a little bit different from the other data file in terms of the order. So what it looks like is this is where my conditions file starts, and this is all the information that was in my conditions file. This up till here. Then here I have the information that I inputted at the beginning of the experiment. Actually, all of this is. I have the date, again, the same as the other one, frame rate, version of PsychoPy3, name of the experiment, the date. And up at the beginning, I have my keys that I put in. Actually, I made a mistake. I actually said immobility was a word. I tricked myself with my own stimuli. All right, so those were the keys that I inputted, and these were the response times for each one. And as you can see, even though it was online, we still have very fine-grained temporal resolution here. So we've got, these are by the second, so we've got detail down to the millisecond, which is great. All right. I don't need to save that. All right, so there we go. We have successfully added an experiment online. If I click download results, it's probably not going to... Oh, well, actually, you know what? I've never done it this way before. What does this look like? Okay, so it's just going to it basically downloads a zip file of all of the available or all the data files that are on the repository. Okay, well, that's useful. I still prefer doing it the other way. All right, so there we go. Okay, I think that's everything that I needed to cover. Let's go back and check. But I did put the experiment online, and we did download some data. Awesome. All right, well, thanks for watching. And in the next video, we're going to start getting into adding custom code elements. That can be a little bit challenging because you have to write code in both, well, ideally in both Python and JavaScript. So we'll just get into doing a little bit of simple code writing, and that should be pretty fun. All right, well, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.